All right, this is a drop note to myself, essentially, and to future developers. I want to try to incorporate a couple of things. This post-it note app, virtually speaking, where you can create different different looks, or different post-it notes, right? But Interoffice activity kind of game, where you can integrate those and the in LogoMaker, right? These arts, as you can download these, right? Such as architecture right here. For now, right, we can download these, and each one of these would be a button. So we link it to this app, right, for the people who develop this app to use commercially in our office, like messaging kind of post-it note. You open a post-it note, integrate the two, and I want to build a piece of software eventually that you can open your post-it note, open this into it, and then push the button for, we can, in other words, we can link these buttons or these icons to specific things in our office for a piece of Interoffice activity app. Each and every one of these for different particular purposes, and help build the library at the same time that defines these icons. At the same time we're building this, it builds a dynamic library that's referenceable for the artist's work that integrates these with a dynamic library kind of thing. So you would have, each one of these could have, or certain ones of them, right, that are downloaded out of each one of these, right, are linked directly to the app that I want to build with some people. But I need help doing it. I'm not a code writer. I don't have WYSIWYG kind of WYSIWYG kind of app development, but we can download these in this app right here. These artists still have to get paid, right? It's even if it's a foundry, right, or a depository or repository for artwork. The people who put it together may acquire the artwork, right, or do the artwork themselves, but the administration of it and the curating of this art is not free. It's a foundry. So be respectful, right? And we can build apps with their permissions, in other words, including them on how to dynamically connect their artwork to as is. In other words, where they don't have to put forth any more effort. They allow us to pull it just like this and then install it just like this without change on these, right, in this term and condition. This thing doesn't manipulate or change the art whatsoever. It won't let you do that, not from that point. In other words, you can do it from here as an art app, but once it's installed in this other app where it's useful as a button and it defines the art amongst a culture, in other words, a humanity that says we all collectively define this and let the computer weigh the definitions that we assign for it, right? But build an app anyway that allows each one of these to be buttons that you can dynamically assign definitions in our office, kind of definition and functionality. A remote for that, in other words, a remote button on a universal remote. It would be, that's what I would call it, Interoffice universal remote kind of deal. But like a post-it note, post-it note Interoffice universal remote. and you pull up a Post-it note, right? And you can fire Post-it notes at people like you can fire them at their app. It's an app, right? It would be an app developed as an app, and it would have Post-it notes in it, and then each one of these would be a button that you could either fire a Post-it note at them, or you could fire one of these commands or one of these buttons that do different things, right? Treat them to coffee. We dynamically link it to the Interoffice stuff. In other words, it sends them a pizza. It sends them a pizza slice or a coupon for a pizza slice at 7-Eleven. It does a lot of things, right? It can be like, I don't know, a virtual fart or whatever when they open it, because you're mad about something or what, right? We can assign a bunch of things to these things and make it very dynamically like Interoffice playable for not a bunch more development than is already right here before us, right? We use this art itself and the library, right, as a definable button pushing kind of thing. I think I downloaded that. YouTube, these. Anyway, that's enough for today, I guess.